Good morning, everybody. It's Monday, May the 18th. This is the Made in Paradise podcast. I'm John Clark, along with my co-hosts, Darin Fingleton and Anthony Ferguson. And this morning, we're going to talk about Darin's explanation of bananas in a prior episode. And the reason is because, I don't know if it was the last episode. Was it the last episode? The episode before last?
It was the last episode.
Yep. Last episode, Darin talked about planting banana plants. What are the specific banana calls? What do you say you call them?
It was apple bananas.
Apple bananas. About planting apple bananas beside his house. And the artificial intelligence said, you know what? That segment ran on for like 5 minutes and really didn't have any purpose. Probably bored everybody to death. So I want to touch on it one more time. And here's the situation. When I first moved to Costa Rica, I realized that if I didn't change the pace of my life and how fast I was running and what I was paying attention to, that I was going to lose my life earlier than I wanted to. And so that was one of the reasons I moved to Costa Rica, was to slow down. And that's one of the things Costa Rica does to you, is it causes you to slow down. And I started thinking about the people on our email list and those that are listening to us. And whoever you are, you probably need to slow down. Right outside this window here, rainy season has just started. And so the number of butterflies flying by outside my window has probably increased 4 or 5 times. They're just constantly going by now, different butterflies. And you guys know there's all these different species, and they're going by and they're going by and they're going by. And I think about when I was Darin's age, or your age, Anthony, and I could not stop and pay attention to butterflies. And right now I'll just stop and I'll just take a look. I'll just stop and take a look and stop and take a look. If nature's doing something that I think is beautiful. And here in San Ysidro, it's a place full of rainbows, right? See them all the time. I just say, hey, double rainbow outside, come look. And so I'll get up and I'll go outside and go look at the rainbow. There's a lot of people that could benefit from planting bananas.
Right.
Agree or disagree?
I completely
agree. Just planting anything in general. I mean, just having the patience to plant something, take care of it for months on end after that, and then seeing what it produces.
I remember when I was young, I was so stressed out about business in my 20s in certain situations. I would get up in the morning and I had a bottle of Tums sitting beside my bed. So when I woke up in the morning, I reached over and I grabbed those Tums and I took 2 of them immediately. This is before we knew all about acid reflux and that you needed a pill to control that. But I had continual acid, and it was from the stress. I was continually stressed out every morning, and I would work until my last breath, right? Until I was just tired out at night, and then fall asleep with no attention to my wife, right? No attention to anything else, just working and working and working and working. And anything that would cause me to stop was a good thing. But as far as this podcast goes, we said, one of the reasons that we created is we wanted the people to know about our character. And the character of all 3 of us is to stop and look at plants and birds and all of those things, because that's life, not doing deals. Deals is what allows us to do life.
Right.
Very well said. I'd rather live in a tropical place where, like you said, you can see butterflies going by than in a cubicle in an office with bright white lights and white walls.
Right. And I'm grateful because in my backyard, I have raccoons, I have toucans, I have monkeys, I have all type of animals, butterflies. Just open on my window and then I can enjoy. Right?
But people travel from all over the world. I mean, some people fly 14 hours, 16 hours to get here to see this. And it's here every day, right? It's here every day. Right. There's some other exotic squirrel or bird, I mean, I don't remember right off the top of my head. It's around 500 species of birds that Costa Rica has, right? I'm always hearing another one I haven't heard. I mean, there's a group in the morning that always sings, right? And I have all those memorized. I know who they are. But there's always a visitor that'll show up during the day, at the morning, at night, somebody else that'll show up in a different song and go, wait, there's a different one. That's something I hadn't heard before, right? All right.
That's well, now you have to stay attuned to.
Now we're going to see if the artificial intelligence says we wasted this time. Darin, what do you got for us today?
I wanted to ask about ethics. Is there a line between a great deal and taking advantage of someone who's desperate in this? Trying to
Yeah,
sell
I think there's a lot of philosophy in that. I mean, people hold very different philosophies about that. You go to a garage sale and there's someone has a vase and they have $20 on it, and you know the vase is worth $1 million. Do you buy the vase for $20 and walk off? Or do you say to that person, okay, I'm going to give you 25% because I knew this, and I think that comes down to the person. But when it comes down to me, I don't want to take advantage of someone in that way. I want to be fair about pricing always, and I think that's a standard deal that you and I have talked about it, Darin, how many times, right? If it's fair, be fair to everybody. It'll keep going. It'll keep prospering. But you got an unfair side, and it's going to end. Always.
Has there ever been a moment where you could have paid less or almost nothing, and stopped them?
It was almost every day for a couple of years in the as seen on TV business, because we were selling all their brown box fulfillment goods that weren't retail boxed, and they would take for it whatever I would say. But I had a gentleman's agreement to not get more than half the money, right? But I had situations where they had inventory that I could get $50 for, and I could have told them I'm only going to pay you $5, and they just would have taken it because I was just continually cleaning it out. So yeah, and I'll tell you another story since you got onto that. Years ago, I used to liquidate all the Dominique jewelry for QVC, and so every week this FedEx driver would deliver $150,000 or $200,000 in jewelry, like $50,000 for a little box, right? $200,000 in jewelry to my door every week. And I would take that jewelry, pull some of it out, sell some of it as jewelry, and I would take the rest of it and have it smelted, and then take my percentage and send the rest of the money back to QVC. And so this was going on for months, right? This just kept going on. And so I looked down at my bill one day, and it's $80,000 less than it's supposed to be. And so I said, what's wrong with that? And I went back to and I had everything, right? I mean, you're dealing with jewelry. I had every shipment recorded, every tracking number. You guys know how detail oriented, right? I had everything. I went back to all of it, right? And it was clear that I owed them $80,000 and they didn't know it.
Wow.
That someone had sent a whole shipment, a whole week's worth of stuff to me, and never recorded any of the numbers. And so I went to my rep at QVC and I told him what happened. He goes, "That's not possible." I said, "I'm telling you it's possible." He goes, "No, it's not possible." And so I said, "Okay, well, I just don't want to get in trouble in the future when you say, hey, you got $80,000, you did." So it goes up to their accounting department, and I finally get to the actual CFO, the chief financial officer of QVC. And I get him on the phone, and I explain to him what's happened. And he says, "That's impossible. There's no way we can owe you $80,000. I said, "No, sir, you're not understanding what I'm saying. Y'all short billed me. You've not billed me for everything." And I had to convince him that way. And in about 2 minutes into the conversation of me trying to convince him, he says, "Oh, wow." Just like that. "Oh, wow." He says, "Well, you could have just kept that money and we would have never known it." Just like that. I said, "Yeah, but that would have been right." He goes, "You just could have kept it." And he goes, laugh like that, right? I said, that's not ethical, sir. It's not what I want to do. I want to maintain the relationship. Right after that, it was just right after that, I sent them that $80,000, and the amount of product I was getting from QVC almost doubled. Maybe it tripled. I don't know. Wow. And I started getting the NASCAR cars, and and little artwork with little problems on it, all kinds of valuable stuff that I hadn't gotten before. They just started throwing me thing after thing after thing. So did those two events have anything to do with one another? Well, I think they did. I think being honest paid off in the end. I mean, I had a 5-year relationship with QVC. It was wonderful. So there you go.
Well, what's the difference between negotiating hard and being predatory? When does that line really crosses, and how does someone know which side they're on? So if you just told a great story, obviously you gave that money back to be honest. Is there a line that you'd say when someone's negotiating in there that's...
You mean what's too far, right? Well, we had someone offer us. We had someone offer us $5 for something that we wanted $10 for this past week, right? Big, huge deal. They offered us half the money. Said, please don't get offended. I wasn't offended, right? The thing is that if you make an offer that's too low, then the other person gets insulted. You're not going to hear about another deal. They're not going to want to do business with you, right? So when you're making an offer that you feel is unreasonable, or the client's going to feel unreasonable, you need to explain it. When we talk about Amazon, Chinese Amazon merchandise that's in the closeout market, and it's just there, and it's not going to bring more than 15 cents on the retail dollar. It's just not.
Right.
I mean, if something brings 20 cents, wow, one deal out of 50. But the rest of it is all going to bring 15 cents or less, and most of it's going to bring 10, 11, or 12. That's just where it is, right? And so if I come in tomorrow and start offering people 3% for it, how long is it going to be before they stop telling me about it? Right? And so in the deal business, it's critically important to keep the information flowing.
Yeah. Have you ever walked away from a deal because the seller was too desperate and you didn't feel right?
Yeah, and we talked about this in a prior episode. If someone is unhappy in some way in a deal, and what I mean by unhappy is that they're staying in a dissatisfied state, right? They're irritable, they're sad, they're depressed, they're whatever, you probably should get away from it immediately.
Yeah.
Right? That's not going to be a clean transaction because people have emotional attachment to the money or to the merchandise.
All right. So just one last thing so that our viewers can get recap on all this. What's the most important thing a new broker needs to understand about a relationship between ethics and long-term success in this business?
Success is going to take long-term, and it's about being ethical over that long-term. Right? So that trust is ethics. Ethics builds trust. You're going to have to commit to a long-term relationship building with that person, and that person's going to have to commit to you too. And because if they don't, you can't build a relationship, right? It has to be two ways.
Yep. Well, that wraps it up for me. Anthony, do you have any questions?
Yeah, of course. John, do you think men should have more than one wife?
Way to throw a curveball.
Well, Anthony, biblically, yes. I don't remember exactly how many Solomon had, but I think he had a couple of hundred concubines, right?
You just say a couple hundred?
He had a couple of hundred concubines. Yes, just go right now, Darin, look that up while I'm talking. How many wives and concubines did King Solomon have? Anthony, I'm gonna answer that. I'm gonna answer that with wisdom.
Please, okay.
When I was a pastor, I was an evangelical pastor, but one of the things you do when you pastor people is you take their confession and you help them through things that they want to confess, right? If someone's confessing something, they're trying to work through something. They feel bad about something. They feel they've done something that wasn't beneficial to them. And the number one thing that I would hear is from men having cheated on their wives and living guilty about it. And I'm not going to talk about anybody's particular set of rules, anyone's doctrine. I'm just going to say what I see in the world. What I saw in the world then as a pastor is I would see that men would start having sex in their teenage years, usually around 15 or 16 years old. And then they would have various sexual partners, let's call it 10, until sometime in their early 20s, they found the one, and they got married and promised to be monogamous. But I would say to you, by biblical standards, those men have already had many wives.
Right. Okay.
Right? Because the biblical standard of consummating the marriage was to have sex, right? That's how you consummated the marriage. And so if you got a guy and he's had sex with 15 women and then he gets married and says, now I'm monogamous. No, you're not. You're monogamous if you had one wife, but you've had 15 women and now you've had one that you've created a legal relationship with. The answer to your question is, I think everyone should take care of their sexual desires and needs in a way that's moral, meaning that it doesn't harm anyone else.
Okay.
Next question.
So I just wanted to, not questions. I just wanted to say King Solomon had 700 wives and 300 concubines.
Oh.
1,000 women.
That's probably some kind of an exaggeration, right?
Well, I mean, I was this thing I got off was what does it say here? It said gotquestions.org or something like that. But I'm scrolling down here, and there's all kinds of different sites that say the same thing. So is it 100% true? I'm not sure, but
the thing is that with it being 700 and 300, you have to think that that's some of those perfect numbers or those godly numbers, right? But it's to signify that there was a whole bunch of them. And so I don't think as humans that we're monogamous, just by what I see out in the world, right? In some countries, they're still practicing polygamy in marriage, but most humans are polygamous. They have multiple sexual relationships, and then at some point say, okay, now I'm just going to have sex with this one person.
Don't go so deep, right? Because I have some more questions, so don't go that deep. Do you think abortion should be illegal?
Wow, you really give me some good ones. I think abortion should be legal?
Right.
I do. I think women should have the choice to do what they want with their own bodies. And I don't think old white men should ever decide what happens to minority women's bodies, for example. That's just a divergence, right? How can you possibly decide what's happening for a woman's body? I think women should be completely autonomous in their bodies, just like men are.
Right. What is your opinion about women who have cosmetic surgery?
Can we just talk about cosmetic surgery, not women that have cosmetic surgery?
No.
Because I think that goes to vanity, right? And it's like I used to dye my hair. I'm not dyeing it now. So this is all natural now. So this is gray, and that little bit of color you see, that's all real color that's left, right? And so I'm not a person into body modification of any kind. So no tattoos, no piercings. And the reason I did that was when I was young and I was a pastor and I had a mentor, and he said to me at one time, he said, John, he said, none of those things really matter to God. A tattoo, a piercing, right? A body, none of that matters to God, right? But it does matter to society. And do you want to be able to reach as many people as possible? And he says, so when you do one of those things and you cause a certain segment of the people to think a different thing about you because you've done those things. And when I was young, I mean, tattoos meant criminal. 100%. Like if you had a tattoo, you were a criminal on the edge. The only people who had tattoos, people been in the military, criminals. That's it. That was who in my lifetime growing up, right? But I wanted to be able to influence as many people as possible. So I said, no, that's not for me. But again, Anthony, I think everyone should have autonomy over their body. It's your earth suit. You're going to wear it until you die, and then you're going to get a new one. So do what you want with yours that's beneficial to your life. And if it's not beneficial to your life, don't do it. I mean, we see so many times people go into these clinics where they're not licensed or whatever. This has just happened here recently in Costa Rica. They set up some kind of a shoddy clinic with a shoddy doctor, and they're in there doing cosmetic procedures, and all of a sudden someone gets an infection or someone dies or whatever else. So a lot of times, it would be better for you to just write "I love myself" in a notebook to go get cosmetic surgery.
Yep.
I think they want to say something.
Well, no. I was going to say back when the tattoos, I remember growing up as a kid, that my grandparents and even my mom was terrified of people that had tattoos. Terrified of people that had tattoos. And so and now you can walk into the bank, and I don't think I've actually personally seen this. So maybe that's not the best example. Someone at a gas station or something like that, they got face tattoos, and you might just wave and see them and say hi and not think of anything twice about them. It's just on how much that's changed.
There was a kid here at Auto Mercado that was is the nicest store here. If people don't know, it's the nicest grocery store here. And there was a kid there, and every time I went to get my groceries, I would get in his lane, because when he was bagging or boxing groceries, he has a talent that I've noticed, haven't had 2,000 employees in my life. He has a talent that's very unique. It's the ability to look at a bunch of objects and to put it in like Tetris the way it's supposed to go. I can do it, but not a whole lot of people can do it like that. And he's very good at it. And so I was impressed watching him. And I started to think, after weeks went by and I would watch him do it over and over, and I was so impressed, I thought, maybe I'll hire this kid and mentor him a little bit, and I can use him to do this or that or the other thing. And then one day I went in, and there's I get in his lane, and he's had a tribal tattoo put all the way up his neck, going up to right here. His whole neck's been tattooed this way, right? And he's got it from his, about 2/3 of his arm going up both arms. And okay, look at Anthony, he says, okay. And that's his right, Anthony. That's completely his right. But I'm not going to let him correspond with 50 and 60-year-old white men with a neck tattoo. I'm not trying to discriminate against him. I have a customer, and that customer is going to respond to the people that I've put in front of them. That seems logical, right?
Yeah.
All right, Anthony, one more question, and we're going to do deals. Last one. Here we go.
What is your opinion about feminists?
I think that a feminist, if you go look up the definition, and you can call me on this, Darin, if you want to right now, the definition of a feminist is a person who wants equal rights for women. I think that's the primary definition of a feminist. So if you're asking me if I'm a feminist, I think everyone should want equal rights for women.
No. Let's see what Darin get, what information Darin
what do you see as the definition of a feminist?
Like they fighting for the rights, right? I mean, there is
an individual who advocates for the political, economic, personal, and social equality of all sexes and genders.
Let's say, for example, this there's a group of women that saying that they don't need any more men in their life. For example, we could do all this by ourselves. We don't need you guys. What do you think about that?
That's the extreme. That's extremist.
Right.
That's the line.
That's not what a feminist is. He just read you the definition of what a feminist is. So you're asking about what do I think about women who've sworn off men?
Right.
Is that what you're saying? What do I think about women who've sworn off men? Maybe they have a very good reason. Each person has their own path. Paul in the Bible, he writes and he says, for some people, it's the path to be single. And for other people, it's the path to be married. Maybe that's their path. Maybe that's what their soul needs to learn, is their soul needs to learn to be feminine without a man around. Right? So what do I think about that? It's like any other life choice. Is it beneficial for your soul? If it's beneficial for your soul, then do it. And if it's not, then don't. Right? If it makes you feel more peaceful and contented, it gives you more clarity, do it. If it doesn't, if it makes you more confused about life or makes you feel stressful, don't do it. But we need to do what's beneficial for us in life. For some of us, that means going along a solo path. Here we go at the 25-minute mark. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Made in Paradise podcast. We are the Proven Performer crew that sponsors this podcast, or the podcast sponsors us. We're not sure yet. I'm John Clark, along with these two handsome fellows that work with me, Darin Fingleton and Anthony Ferguson. We all reside in Costa Rica, but we do lots of deals in 26 different countries with 500 different customers. We love big deals. Today, we're going to talk about a big deal on landscape fabric, professional weed barrier. This roll that we're looking at right here, this is a 200 foot by 4 foot. So you're talking about 8,000 square feet there of coverage, $99.98 retail. Here's the kicker. We have 67,000 rolls of this, about 25 truckloads. It has a brand name on it that belongs to a national retailer. It either has to be exported to Canada, Mexico, or elsewhere outside of the United States, or it has to be defaced inside the United States. So if it's going to be exported and it can go to Canada and Mexico, it can go as is. If it's going to be sold inside the United States, and it has to be sold under a defacing agreement that says they're going to take the information off, whoever the buyer is. So let's take a look right now. Got a couple of videos that show us what these rolls look like. You can kind of see the depth here of this. 25 truckloads to move it all, 67,000 rolls, about $3.6 million at retail. We're not going to give you the price here. You're going to have to reach out to us to get it. Let me just say that the price is really less than you can ship it here for and pay the duties from the factory. It's an incredibly low price. You have to take it all, and it's got to get out now. If we don't get this product out of these warehouses this week, the manufacturer is going to take it back to the factories in India and repackage it. So we'll look at one more video here. Again, must be defaced if sold inside the United States. Really, they would love to have it exported more than anything. Canada and Mexico is okay. Anywhere else in the world is okay. It's a universal product. It works everywhere. Ultimate weed barrier, landscape fabric, a total of 37 million square feet, 3.5 million square meters. Really good stuff. Have all the material data safety sheets, everything from the manufacturer. Please reach out to us at one of the numbers below via WhatsApp, email. We'd love to talk to you about this landscape fabric and give you a price that's going to blow you away. All righty. This has been our Monday show for the Made in Paradise podcast. I'm John, along with Anthony and Darin, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Like and subscribe.